The story opens with a boy, Mace Windsor, who is engrossed in a book in his room when soldiers arrive with an urgent message the king has summoned him. Without delay, he heads to the royal chamber, only to be met with a shocking decree. The king announces his exile, accusing him of treason against the nation. Confused and shaken, he protests, insisting there must be a misunderstanding. However, his brother Alfred mocks him, dismissing his defense as meaningless. To provoke him further, he brings up his visit to Vritra, the guardian dragon, questioning whether he intends to bring ruin to the nation. Mace glares at him, realizing his brother is orchestrating his downfall. Another family member, Windsor, is also vying for the position of the next head of the household. As he pieces everything together, he is alarmed. He had hidden the dragon, yet it now seems the truth has surfaced. Alfred questions whether he intends to control Vritra. The king then speaks, explaining that the kingdom's power comes from Vritra. He demands to know what he is plotting and what he intends to do with the dragon's strength. Struggling to understand the conspiracy against him, Mace listens as the king recounts an event from 4 years ago. A massive dragon appeared near the capital, subduing monsters and repelling an invading army. The people hailed it as their guardian deity. The king's son, furious, declares that he is unworthy of his status and asks for Alfred to be made the next head of the family. The king agrees, announcing that he is to be disinherited and his engagement to the second princess, Lucy, annulled. Instead, she will be betrothed to Alfred. Stunned and enraged, Mace warns that if he is exiled, Valitra will be furious and the kingdom will fall. Desperate, he reveals the truth: Valitra is not a divine being but an artificial creature he created using alchemy. His claim is met with disbelief. Alfred scoffs, and the king's son calls him a disgrace. The court erupts in outrage, and knights seize him. He struggles, pleading for them to listen, but the king dismisses his words as foolishness. When he swears he speaks the truth, the king's son furiously silences him. Alfred suggests sending him to Biograd, a remote land covered in endless forests. The king's son supports the idea, reminding the king that Biograd's ruler recently died, leaving the region in a dire state. The king agrees, declaring it his destination. Soldiers drag him away as he shouts warnings about the kingdom's impending doom. Alfred laughs, mocking him, while the king warns that further protests will result in execution. As the doors shut behind him, he is exiled. On his journey to Biograd, he is lost in thought, worried about how he will explain everything to his sister, Teeny. Suddenly, an ambush shatters his carriage. He is thrown to the ground as a group of armed men surrounds him, their headbands marked with the emblem of the Valitra cult. They accuse him of being a bringer of plague, demanding he step forward. The mob chants for divine retribution. Mace tries to calm them, but they glare at him with contempt. When he admits to creating Valitra, one of them strikes his hand in fury. They declare his crime worthy of death. Just as they prepare to execute him, a massive shadow descends from the sky. The cultists freeze in awe as Valitra appears. Overcome with reverence, they fall to their knees, pleading for mercy. But Vritra's rage is undeniable. He opens his mouth and unleashes a stream of fire. The cultists, stunned, beg for an explanation. Valitra's voice booms through the air, warning them anyone who harms him will be sent to the underworld. The cultists tremble as their so-called god speaks. Mace watches in shock as Valitra turns to him, asking if he is unharmed. The dragon's speech is human-like, and he wonders if this is a lingering effect of his alchemy. Suddenly, the dragon steps forward and embraces him. He tenses, sensing something unusual. Cautiously, he asks if she can return to his original form. Valitra nods. The form revered by the people is only a disguise. A transformation occurs, and before him stands his sister, Teeny. Stunned, he struggles to comprehend the revelation. She grins and asks for clothes. As he hands them over, he wonders if the mechanism could allow clothing to adjust automatically during transformations. She soon appears in an elegant outfit, twirling playfully. She then hands him a fragment of the infinite vault. He thanks her, then hesitantly asks if she spared the cultists. She assures him that she did not kill them. If she had, he could have been framed for murder. Instead, she used freezing magic to put them in a near-death state, ensuring they would eventually thaw. However, she acknowledges that some may still see her as their executioner. When he questions why Alfred would order the attack, she grows irritated. She scolds him for being oblivious. His engagement to Lucy was annulled, yet she still loves him. He, embarrassed, tries to dismiss the topic, but she bluntly states that Alfred's actions stem from jealousy. She then declares that the kingdom thrives only because of him. He, deep in thought, disagrees. He asks if she was protecting the kingdom as Dalitra. With unexpected seriousness, she corrects him and says she was protecting him. Determined, she announces that she will accompany him to Biograd. He, taken aback, questions what will happen to the kingdom if she leaves. She smiles, dismissing his concerns. A kingdom without her brother means nothing to her. With conviction, she declares that from now on, they will stay together, and with the guardian dragon gone, the kingdom's fall is inevitable. She, exhausted and frustrated, finally tells her brother that she is tired of pretending to be the guardian dragon and Yatra. She insists that they should leave the country together and head toward the distant, untamed lands. He, after a brief pause, agrees. Without hesitation, she tells him to climb onto her back. He is confused. Suddenly, she transforms into her dragon form. She stands before him, explaining that she will carry him through the air. He, startled by the suggestion, firmly refuses. He explains that if she flies in dragon form, they will draw too much attention. As the kingdom's guardian dragon, her sudden disappearance would alarm the citizens. Realizing the risk, they consider alternative plans. After some thought, she suggests carrying Mace in her human form instead. He, baffled, questions her seriousness. She explains that if necessary, he should hold on to her tightly. However, noticing his reaction, she quickly proposes that they buy a horse instead. He contemplates the idea. Carrying him would slow her down and attract even more attention than flying. She then asks if they have enough money to buy a horse. Reassuringly, he reminds her that as the next heir of their family, he has sufficient funds. They soon arrive at a stable where the owner asks if they are looking for a horse. They explain that they need a strong horse capable of traveling long distances without rest. The stable owner informs them that she has the perfect horse for them. Upon seeing it, the siblings are left speechless. She explains that unfortunately, this is the only horse available. When the owner states the price of 40 gold coins, he is taken aback. Before he can respond, she, outraged, exclaims that even here, corruption is rampant, and declares that this country is truly doomed. The stable owner, irritated, glares at them and asks him what the problem is. Before tensions escalate, he calmly apologizes and states that the horse will do. Without further discussion, he counts out 40 gold coins and hands them over. As they leave with the horse, she angrily questions his decision, complaining about the treatment they received. She finds it unacceptable that someone of their status was spoken to so rudely. He, unfazed, explains that if he had wanted, he could have burned the entire shop down, but he chose to let it go. She, taken aback by his response, falls silent. Examining the horse closely, she realizes that it is exhausted and may not be able to carry them to their destination. He gently strokes the horse's head and reassures it, acknowledging that their journey depends on it. He then asks if he would like to run freely one last time. Noticing the pain in the horse's eyes, he activates his unique ability. Placing his hand on the horse, he channels his power, and in an instant, the horse transforms into a magnificent unicorn. Its form evolves, its strength increases, and its rank rises to an extraordinary level. As the horse transforms into a magnificent unicorn, she is deeply impressed. He explains that he only intended to enhance it to an A-rank horse, but his abilities either result in a high-rank creature or complete failure. She, amazed by the unicorn's power, praises her brother. Satisfied with the outcome, he prepares to leave, urging her to mount so they can set off without delay. As they ride, the unicorn's incredible speed astounds them both. He notes that at this pace, they will reach Biograd in no time. She holds on to her brother tightly, and he remarks on how much she is leaning on him. Smirking, she admits she is doing it on purpose. However, he soon feels discomfort and tells her that her horn is pressing into his back. She adjusts slightly but remains close. As they pass through settlements, people stare at them in shock. He realizes they are attracting too much attention and notes that they need to learn to control the unicorn's speed. Approaching Biograd, she comments that their quick arrival is thanks to the unicorn, but he insists that it is because of her. He reminds her that all monsters in the Alphasia kingdom follow her command, meaning they won't be attacked. The thought of being welcomed by monsters surprises him, but she assures him that it is only natural after all. He is the supreme and greatest being. Near the outskirts of Biograd, she warns him that from this point onward, hesitation is not an option. She explains that the monsters ahead are not under her control. He acknowledges this and stays alert. Suddenly, they notice a massive rock blocking their path. He surveys the area, suspecting a nearby village. Sensing something unusual, she tells him the village is under attack. Examining the rock closely, he deduces that it seems to have strayed from its intended path. However, something feels off, and he urges her to investigate. Agreeing, she states firmly that whether intentional or not, someone has attacked her brother, and she cannot let it go unanswered. With determination, they steer the unicorn toward the village where a massive Cyclops awaits. As they enter the city, they spot several Cyclops. One in particular catches their attention, seemingly attacking for amusement. Elsewhere, another battle unfolds, confirming their fear that multiple Cyclops are present. Amidst the chaos, they see knights fighting desperately. Assessing the situation, they resolve to stop the invaders as long as the Biograd knights stand. Mace orders her to bring Levantine, and she swiftly retrieves the magical spear. Without hesitation, they launch an attack, obliterating a Cyclops in a single strike. Shocked by how easily an A-rank monster falls, they struggle to believe it. She, impressed by her brother's strength, silently admires him. The knights approach, astonished by the sacred unicorn. Overwhelmed, they question the siblings' identity. Before an answer comes, two massive Cyclops appear and surround them. The knights, caught off guard, brace for battle. She orders him to lower his head. As the Cyclops attacks, she unleashes her full power, cleaving it in half. The onlookers are stunned by the display. Seizing the moment, she declares her brother the new ruler of Biograd. He steps forward hesitantly. The knights, confused by the siblings' composed demeanor, listen as he explains that they have come from the royal capital to defend the city. Before they can respond, violent coughing interrupts them. He, noticing their condition, asks if they are injured. Examining them closely, she recognizes the signs of the Black Death. He, shocked, remarks that the king never reported an outbreak here and warns them to stay back. The knights, distressed, urge him to keep his distance for his own safety. Before the discussion can continue, more Cyclops appear and encircle them. Mace realizes that despite their failing health, the soldiers have fought relentlessly to protect the city. He refuses to let them perish and orders Tinny to undo her transformation. With unwavering determination, they prepare to defend the city. She reveals her true form, unleashing a powerful roar. The knights, already in awe, recoil in disbelief as they recognize her as Vritra, the guardian dragon of the kingdom. Their astonishment deepens when Vritra speaks, confirming their suspicions. Unable to comprehend how a dragon communicates in human tongue, they stand in shock. She attributes it to her brother's power, calling him the supreme and greatest one. The knights, awestruck, turn to him in reverence. He listens, embarrassed by their admiration. Before he can react, the Cyclops charge again. Declaring their recklessness unforgivable, she states that such foolishness warrants 1,000 deaths. She breathes fire, reducing the monsters to ashes. Yet some attempt to flee. Watching them, her fury intensifies as she questions whether they truly believe they can escape. She stands in front of her brother, shielding him as she declares that this land belongs to him. She warns the Cyclops that attacking the city means making an enemy of him. Overwhelmed by her presence, the Cyclops tremble in fear, lower their weapons, and beg for forgiveness. However, she remains unmoved. She coldly reminds them that since they have raised their weapons against her brother, the only fate awaiting them is death. Mace, shocked by her words, tries to reason with her, urging her to show mercy since the Cyclops have surrendered. She is momentarily taken aback, but refuses to yield, questioning his belief in sparing an enemy who has already raised the white flag. He firmly states that he dislikes unnecessary bloodshed and seeks coexistence for the sake of the citizens. Respecting his wishes, she relents and orders the Cyclops to be grateful for his generosity. As she returns to her true form, the Cyclops, terrified, bow before him, pledging loyalty and acknowledging him as their ruler. She then commands them to repair the destruction they caused and rebuild the barricades by the end of the day. The Cyclops, left with no choice, obey immediately. Mace reflects on his newly given title, Shadow Demon King, finding it unusual but recognizing its usefulness in controlling the creatures of this land. By reducing military spending, he could redirect resources elsewhere, leading to a more prosperous Biograd. A group of knights approaches, awed by his abilities. They acknowledge that the land, once on the brink of ruin, is now safe from monsters. However, they reveal that many among them suffer from a deadly illness and are simply awaiting death. They plead for him to protect this land. Surprised, he reassures them that no one will die under his watch and declares that he will cure them. His words shock the knights, who doubt his claim, explaining that even the former rulers succumbed to the disease. They insist that once infected, there is no effective treatment. She intervenes, stating that they are fortunate to be here, as her brother is the greatest alchemist in the country's history. She reminds them that even the earlier dragon transformation was possible due to his alchemy. He then asks about available potions in town, intending to create a healing elixir. Using Genesis alchemy and existence evolution, he successfully produces the panacea elixir and urges the knights to drink it. As they consume it, their wounds heal instantly, and their strength returns. Realizing that the available potions are insufficient, he instructs the knights to gather more from the town. They quickly comply, bringing back all they can find. Upon inspection, he determines that they are still not enough, but prioritizes the most severely injured. He acknowledges that some of his earlier attempts at creating potions have failed, as the success rate was not 100%, but reassures everyone that he will continue his efforts. She examines the potions and suggests that a workshop will be necessary to improve the success rate. He agrees, realizing they need proper equipment, starting with an alchemy cauldron. However, she reminds him that he had previously succeeded without one. He admits that while he was relieved when his past experiments worked, he was also deeply concerned about potential failure. His words leave her and the unicorn momentarily silent, unsettled by the thought. A knight steps forward, still in disbelief, and reveals that they had believed the royal capital had abandoned them. He acknowledges his abilities as godlike and states that it is only natural for him to be their king. Mace, however, clarifies that he was unaware of the plague spreading through Biograd. The knight is stunned and asks why he was sent here in the first place. He recalls how his brother, Alfred, exiled him to the frontier and begins to suspect that he already knew about the disease. He even wonders if the king was only informed that the previous lord had passed away. Hearing this, she expresses her anger, declaring that if this is true, she would crush Alfred. She asserts that the king committed a grave crime the moment he exiled him. He, taken aback by her words, remains cautious, realizing that if not handled carefully, this could be seen as treason. He decides to manage the situation carefully. As Cyclops approaches, addressing him as king, and tearfully requests an elixir to save a dying comrade. Without hesitation, he agrees. Before he proceeds, she questions him once more, asking if he is certain about this. He affirms that the Cyclops are now allies, and if there is a chance to save them, he will take it. He administers the elixir, and the dying Cyclops is instantly healed. The knights of Biograd, witnessing the miracle, swear absolute loyalty to him. The people, moved by his power and compassion, proclaim him their ruler and pledge unwavering allegiance. At the mansion, they discusses the urgent need for medicine. He, serious and focused, points out that the town's supply is insufficient. When he inquires about trade with merchants or nearby towns, the knight informs him that all trade has ceased. Fear of the plague has driven people away, and merchants refuse to come near. This revelation shocks him. If potions stop arriving, he will be unable to produce the elixir. The knight, however, does not see the problem, believing that if he can create an elixir, making potions should be easier. Mace clarify that his Genesis alchemy only allows him to transmute the highest grade materials. Anything of lower quality fails. While he can make the elixir, he cannot produce the potions needed as ingredients. Understanding the issue, the knight suggests searching the mansion, as the previous lord, an alchemist, likely left behind a stockpile. Surprised, he agrees, and they set off to investigate. Upon arrival, the knight calls for the gates to be opened, announcing the new lord's presence. When no one responds, she grows irritated at the lack of respect toward her brother. The knight apologizes and explains that after the previous lord's passing, a young maid named Aerys was left in charge of the mansion. Mace finds it difficult to believe that one person could manage such a vast estate alone. A troubling thought crosses his mind. As she has contracted the plague, she may have collapsed inside. Without hesitation, he orders Tinny to open the gate. Following his command, she effortlessly breaks the door. The knight, witnessing her strength, finally accepts that she is, in fact, Lord Vritra. She remarks that her strength is significantly reduced compared to her original form, but tasks like breaking a gate remain easy. Mace, meanwhile, had assumed she would fly over and unlock it from the inside. With the gate now broken, she suggests having a Cyclops repair it. The knight, impressed by her reliability, smiles. Despite the noise, the mansion remains eerily silent. Mace, growing suspicious, decide they must search for her immediately. He instructs the knight to check the second floor while she searches the first. As they comb through the mansion, calling her name, he activates Farsight to scan for life signs. Aside from the three of them, no one else is present, yet the estate remains meticulously clean, suggesting someone had been here until recently. After a while, they return, confirming that they found nothing, not even on the second floor. She, apologetic, states that she was also unable to detect anyone. He, deep in thought, considers the situation. At that moment, she informs him of another life sign of the cat they assume is a pet left behind in the mansion. The cat suddenly begins communicating with her in its own language. After a brief exchange, she informs him that the cat wishes to accompany them. The knight is astonished by her ability to understand it. Mace explains that as a side effect of her transformation into a dragon, she can communicate with creatures that do not speak their language. Without warning, the cat dashes ahead, leading them to a specific location. Following it, they discover Aerys collapsed on the ground. Rushing to her side, they immediately check her condition and recognize the symptoms of the Black Death. Wasting no time, he administers his prepared medicine. As soon as she drinks it, she recovers almost instantly. Sitting up, she is stunned by the sudden restoration of her health. Relieved, he feels reassured that they arrived just in time. She, still in shock, asks if he is a doctor. Before he can respond, Tinny informs her that he is the new Lord of Biograd. He introduces himself formally, expressing his pleasure at meeting her. She, taken aback, struggles to believe it. Realizing her earlier behavior, she quickly apologizes and introduces herself as the mansion's maid, having served the lords of this land for generations. She sincerely thanks them for saving her. He, smiling, tells her that if she wishes to express gratitude, she should thank the cat, as it was the one that led them to her. She, surprised, picks up the cat and embraces it, thanking it for bringing help. Turning serious, he suddenly asks if she can guide them to the alchemy workshop. She, still recovering, assumes he must be exhausted and offers to prepare a room, suggesting they rest for the night. However, he remains firm. There is no time to rest. They must begin mass-producing elixirs immediately. She listens as the knight explains that the medicine he gave her was an elixir. She struggles to believe it, unaware that she had consumed such a powerful remedy. Meanwhile, Tinny reminds him that he must be exhausted after using alchemy in town earlier. He, however, remains resolute. Looking at the dire state of Biograd, he declares that the town is on the brink of collapse. There is no time to delay. With unwavering determination, he vows to save Biograd using his alchemy. He recounts the events that led to his exile, explaining how his sister once served as the guardian dragon Vritra, protecting the kingdom. However, when he attempted to cure an illness through alchemy, an unexpected side effect transformed her into a dragon. When he informed the king, his claims were dismissed, and he was exiled to the cold lands of Biograd. Upon arrival, he discovered the city overwhelmed with plague-stricken people. Determined to save them, he reveals his plan to use alchemy to restore Biograd. Aerys, understanding the gravity of the situation, agrees to help and leads him to the alchemist's hidden chamber within the mansion, surprising him with its existence. As they proceed, a knight informs her of his return to security duties, entrusting her with the situation. She acknowledges his departure before continuing with them. Upon entering the mansion, Mace is astonished by the underground passage concealed beneath it. As they descend, they reach a long-abandoned chamber, and upon entry, both he and his sister start coughing due to the thick layer of dust. Aerys apologizes, explaining that under the previous lord's orders, no one was allowed inside without permission, so it was never cleaned. He dismisses her concern, noting the presence of potentially hazardous substances left unchecked due to the former lord's absence. He insists on inspecting the stored potions, but acknowledges the need to clean the area first. Unexpectedly, she begins removing her clothes, trembling in fear, assuming that he intends to punish her. Both of them are shocked. Seeing her distress, he, deeply unsettled, reassures her that he would never harm her. She hesitantly reveals that the previous lord treated her and the other servants cruelly, leading her to believe that such treatment was customary. He firmly assures her that such abuse is unacceptable and should never be tolerated. She, stunned by his response, expresses immense gratitude. Meanwhile, Tinny, in a light-hearted manner, reminds her that despite his greatness, he would never mistreat anyone. Aerys, feeling reassured, acknowledges the sentiment, considering it an honor to serve. He entrusts Tinny with cleaning, and she happily agrees. Aerys insists on handling it herself, but she dismisses her concerns. Activating her infinite warehouse ability, she effortlessly uses wind magic to cleanse the entire chamber, making it spotless in an instant. Aerys watches in amazement, unable to comprehend how everything vanished so suddenly. When Tinny restores the stored items, Aerys is further bewildered, realizing it is unlike any magic she has encountered before. Tinny explains that while she used magic to absorb the dust, the ability to store and restore objects comes from a magical tool created by him. Aerys, still in awe, admits she has never heard of such an extraordinary invention. Tinny proudly adds that it is the only one of its kind, mentioning that he has created numerous magical artifacts, including spears, swords, and elixirs. She excitedly shares that even the sacred beast outside the unicorn is one of his creations. Aerys is left speechless, recalling the legend of the Windsor ducal family, believed to be descendants of the renowned alchemist Paracelsus. However, she wonders if his abilities surpass even that of the great alchemist. He, however, humbly refutes the notion, acknowledging that he is still inexperienced. After searching for a suitable place to begin their work, Tinny discovers an alchemy pot and brings it to him. Upon closer inspection, he recognizes it as their father's alchemy pot. She reveals that she had retrieved it before their journey, recounting how she approached the king, who was shocked to see a dragon before him, and how he willingly gave it to her as a father fulfilling his daughter's request. He acknowledges her efforts while the maid, hearing about the dragon, is left astonished. She then reveals that she herself is the guardian dragon but understands if they do not believe her since she cannot transform in this place. Meanwhile, he inspects the materials available: a demon beast's horn, a flame crystal, a sea beast's claw, and an alchemical solution, only to realize they are of no use, leaving him concerned about their limited potion stock. Before he can find a solution, Aerys' cat, Mina, arrives, prompting her to scold her for coming to such a place. She then remarks that the kitten seems quite attached to her. Observing this, his mind begins racing as he asks her if she knows the cause of the Black Death spreading across various regions. He nervously shares a theory that a bird is responsible, but he corrects her, explaining that the true cause is a rat. She is shocked, and he further notes kitten intelligence, recalling how she had guided them to help her before. After deep thought, he presents a difficult proposal. Through alchemy, he can evolve the kitten into a sacred beast. She agrees, trusting in him, but insists that kitten consent is necessary. Turning to the cat, he seriously explains the risks, admitting that if the process fails, she could turn into a monster. However, he promises that if that happens, he will find a way to bring her back. Acknowledging his own concern, he reassures Aerys that he genuinely cares for Mina. She, moved by his resolve, expresses her trust in him. He then asks Tiny to communicate with the kitten, as she can understand the language of creatures. Aerys is surprised by this ability, while Tiny gently lifts her and speaks to her. Mina eagerly expresses her willingness to do anything to help her, referring to her as her mother. Aerys is stunned by this realization. After some exchange, Tiny relays her gratitude for being taken in 3 years ago. He takes in the situation, realizing the weight of his responsibility. Unlike when he created the legendary unicorn, this time he is about to craft a unique existence not found in any legend. Doubt lingers in his mind, but before it takes hold, Tiny reassures him, expressing unwavering belief in his abilities. Encouraged by her support, he finally resolves himself and carefully prepares to transform her into a sacred beast through alchemy. He begins his work with focus and determination, instructing Tiny to pour the alchemical solution into the pot. She follows his guidance, and together they carefully prepare the mixture. Aerys watches with growing concern for her cat, but he, relying on his expertise, proceeds with confidence to evolve kitten existence. Once the solution is ready, Tiny carries her over and drops her into the heated mixture. Aerys watches anxiously as the cat emerges, covered in a sticky substance and visibly disoriented. Through his high-rank alchemy, she undergoes a transformation, growing significantly in size and evolving into a sacred beast. As Mina adjusts to her new form, she rushes toward Aerys, embracing her with affection. Grateful for the care she has received, she expresses her devotion and a desire to repay her kindness. She, relieved and overjoyed, accepts the transformed her with warmth. He then directs her toward a crucial task, eliminating the rats that spread the Black Death through fleas. Aerys is stunned to realize the true extent of the disease. Meanwhile, Tiny, impressed by her brother's success, acknowledges his skill. Mina, eager to fulfill her new purpose, activates her newfound ability, summoning a large number of cats. Aerys, bewildered by their sudden appearance, wonders if Mina is responsible. He confirms that the summoned cats are under her command and will obey her every order. Without hesitation, Mina leads them to eradicate the rats and put an end to the Black Death. As the cats set off on their mission, he watches with satisfaction, already planning the next step, securing the necessary potions to create the elixir. At the palace, Lucy grows concerned when she realizes she has not seen Mace for several days. When she asks her father about him, the king calmly reveals that he has been exiled. Shocked, she struggles to process the news, and as the realization sets in, She understands why Lord Valitra has also disappeared. Turning to her father, she questions his plans for the kingdom's defense, warning that if an enemy nation attacks, they will be unprepared. The king reassures her, mentioning the guardian dragon Valitra, but she insists that Valitra was never truly protecting the country. She explains that he was the one ensuring its safety all along. The king, confused, reminds her that the recent invasions from the Maldan Empire were repelled, believing Lord Valitra's presence is what kept the monsters at bay. However, she clarifies that Valitra is not protecting the kingdom out of loyalty to the crown, but because it is an artificial magical beast created by him. If he is gone, there is no reason for Valitra to continue defending the kingdom. Recalling his words about Valitra's origins, the king grows frustrated. She demands to know why, despite knowing the truth, he still exiled him. Dismissing her argument, the king claims that he is incompetent and incapable of creating anything of value. She refuses to believe that someone like Valitra could be the result of failure. The king suggests that her emotions cloud her judgment and warns that defending him insults Valitra's honor. He then reminds her that he is gone and that she is now engaged to Alfred. The revelation stuns her, and she finally understands that Alfred is behind everything. Determined to protect the kingdom, she decides to act and informs her father that she is leaving for Belgrade to find him. The king, surprised and angered, tells her that her reckless actions will not be tolerated. She insists that it is not selfishness but necessity Lord Valitra must return, or the country will face destruction. As a princess, she declares it her duty to protect the kingdom. The king attempts to stop her, arguing that if his claims are true, the truth will reveal itself in time. She challenges him, questioning whether he intends to wait until the kingdom is under attack to act. The king remains silent as she departs. As she leaves the palace, Alfred intercepts her, demanding to know where she is going. She coldly states that she is going to bring back her fiancé. Outraged, he reminds her that she is now engaged to him. Unmoved, she insists that Mace is her only fiancé and tells him to step aside before continuing her journey. Consumed by rage, he curses him and wonders how he managed to escape from the Valitra cult that was sent after him. Grinding his teeth, he contemplates whether she will continue to stand in his way, even if he forces her down. Deciding he will not allow her to succeed, he makes a sinister choice. He will go to Belgrade and ensure that it becomes his grave. Aerys feels a newfound lightness in her body, making it hard to believe she was suffering from the Black Death just 2 days ago. As she observes the city, she notices how life is gradually returning despite his arrival being so recent. The plague-carrying rats will soon be eradicated, thanks to the cats Mina summoned. With this crisis nearly resolved, the next challenge is securing the necessary potions to create the elixir. Confident in his ability to handle the situation, she focuses on her own way of helping ensuring he enjoys a proper meal. She sees serving him as her only meaningful role and even wishes to care for more than just his daily needs, finding honor in attending to him. However, she struggles to suppress thoughts she deems inappropriate. Her thoughts are interrupted when a bandit suddenly seizes her from behind, covering her mouth and ordering her to stay silent. He reveals that her mother is in their custody and demands that she poison Mace's food if she wants to save her. The revelation leaves her stunned, and when she does not respond, the bandit coldly questions her willingness to let her mother die, warning that this is no idle threat. A sudden silence makes her realize something is off. There are no footsteps, possibly a silencing spell. Another bandit approaches, holding a magical device that projects an image of a distant place. As she looks into it, she sees her mother bound in chains, imprisoned. The sight freezes her in shock. The bandit offers a grim choice. If she complies, both she and her mother will be freed. If she refuses, her mother will be left to be devoured by beasts by the next day. The weight of the decision paralyzes her. She cannot betray the man who has saved countless lives, yet abandoning her mother feels unbearable. After a long internal struggle, she refuses. Enraged, one of the bandits strikes her, declaring her worthless if she will not obey. Deciding to assign the task to someone else, they begin to leave. At that moment, Mace, Tini, and Mina arrive, armed and prepared. He demands her release. The bandits, caught off guard, cannot understand how they were discovered after ensuring they left no trace. Tini quickly reveals that while they hid themselves well, the cats spread throughout the land and immediately relayed their location. Their secrecy was an illusion. With no chance to escape, the bandits choose to act directly. Aerys watches in fear, knowing that he, as an alchemist, is at a disadvantage against trained killers. Before anyone can react, One of the bandits seizes her again, pressing a weapon to her throat. Desperate, she pleads for him to escape. The bandit issues a final warning: any movement will cost her life. Mace understands that he is the true target and suspects that Alfred might be behind this, considering how much of an obstacle he has become for him. Determined to protect her, he acknowledges the severity of the situation. If innocent people are being dragged into this, then even if the mastermind is his own brother, he cannot overlook it. However, the bandit remains unfazed, keeping his weapon pressed against her neck and making it clear that there is no time for unnecessary talk. He demands that he drop his weapon. She, panicked, pleads with him not to surrender. Realizing the urgency, he reluctantly drops his weapon, leaving everyone stunned. As soon as the bandits lower their guard, he swiftly activates his paralysis magic. A surge of energy spreads through the area, instantly immobilizing the bandits and causing them to collapse. Their shocked expressions reveal their inability to comprehend what just happened. With confidence, he reveals that his weapon is designed to subdue enemies without killing them. Teeny, observing his strategy, recognizes his skill, knowing he was capable of such a move. With his high-ranking magic, he has neutralized the threat without even engaging directly. Now safe, Mina rushes to embrace her, while the others check on her condition. She reassures them that she is unharmed but anxiously informs them that her mother has been taken hostage. Teeny, remaining composed, reveals that they have already traced the thieves' hideout using magic. She firmly states that they must not only rescue the hostages, but also eliminate the bandits completely. Strengthening their resolve, they assure her that they will bring her mother back safely. They leave Mina behind to care for her and prepare to depart. Aerys, overwhelmed by their determination, struggles to believe that rescuing her mother is possible. Teeny reassures her that there is nothing they cannot achieve together. As she fights back tears, Teeny shifts into her dragon form, allowing him to climb onto her back before taking off toward the thieves' hideout. As they fly, he inquires about the location. She informs him that the hideout is a ruined castle hidden deep within the northern forest. Taking in this information, he instructs her to head there at full speed, determined to reach their destination without delay. He urges her to reach the location swiftly, as Aerys' mother is in grave danger. Acknowledging his command, she moves ahead, informing him that the enemy base is already under her control. He, astonished, questions how she managed to dominate the creatures of the area in just 2 days. She explains that goblins and wyverns inhabit the vicinity, and she commanded them through telepathic communication to gather at the enemy's hideout. Impressed, he instructs her to strike only enough to distract the enemy without killing them. Upon their arrival, a horde of goblins is already waiting. They launch an immediate attack, vowing to drag the humans into hell. He, taken aback, struggles to understand how the goblins invaded the castle so quickly but shifts his focus to escaping. The goblins soon retreat as an enormous dragon appears above, its presence causing panic among the bandits, who scramble back into the castle for cover. Meanwhile, they locate Ella's mother. Without hesitation, he orders her to break through the castle walls. She unleashes her full power, shattering them with sheer force. Witnessing this, those nearby are left in shock, unable to believe that Lord Vritra has appeared before them. He frees her mother and checks on her condition. Weak and coughing, she pleads for him to save her daughter instead. He reassures her that her daughter is safe and that they have come to rescue her at Ella's request. A group of bandits arrives, confused about the intruders' identities and the whereabouts of Lord Vritra. Meanwhile, he offers Aerys' mother a potion, instructing her to drink it. As the elixir takes effect, her pain vanishes instantly, restoring her strength. Shocked, she questions its rarity and apologizes for using such a valuable medicine. He dismisses her concerns, explaining that for his brother, alchemy of this level is as simple as making juice, provided the right ingredients are available. Those around them are stunned, realizing that only 7 such elixirs are said to exist in the world, and one has just been used before them. Their attention quickly shifts to him as the bandits recognize him as their target. Greedy for the reward, one of them rushes at him with full force. Before he can strike, Teeny intervenes. He attempts to block the attack with his sword, but her swift counter sends the attacker flying. In the process, his paralysis sword slips from his grasp. The fallen enemy is quickly defeated, leaving the remaining bandits stunned. One mutters in disbelief, recalling rumors that he was a failure as an alchemist, but now, seeing the young girl's overwhelming strength, he realizes the truth. She, angered by their words, demands to know their employer. The bandits remain silent, but she gives them an ultimatum answer within 10 seconds, or she will summon the goblins and force them to play. Terrified, they beg for mercy and finally confess that their employer is Alfred Windsor. Mace, hearing his brother's name, is deeply unsettled. The revelation that he would go this far involving innocent people in his cruelty is difficult to accept. She, sharing his anger, suggests burning the entire kingdom to the ground, leaving no one alive. He immediately rejects the idea, deeming it excessive. Instead, he proposes sending a warning they will not tolerate another offense. Respecting his decision, she agrees. Turning back to the captured enemies, she coldly informs them that the goblins are free to do as they please. The bandits, horrified, plead for mercy, realizing this was not part of their agreement. But Teeny remains unmoved. A goblin soon approaches, reporting that the castle's warehouse is filled with potions and food. Addressing her as their ruler, he awaits her command. Mace realizes that these supplies belong to those who halted distribution in Belgrade. Recognizing an opportunity, he orders the goblins to transport the resources there immediately. Without hesitation, they obey, addressing him as the Shadow Demon King. He is momentarily surprised that the title has already spread among them, but he quickly refocuses. With these resources, he finally has a way to end the Black Death. The scene shifts to castle where Princess Lucy prepares to lead the palace for Belgrade, determined to retrieve him. Many in the palace struggle to believe she is truly going, but she reassures them, insisting that he must return for the kingdom's sake. Concerned for her safety, her advisors urge her to take a large number of guards, but she refuses, arguing that most should remain to protect the kingdom in Valitra's absence. She acknowledges the recent increase in demon activity and stresses the importance of maintaining a strong defense. Once in Belgrade, she believes the situation will be more stable. Though surprised, the palace eventually accepts her decision and bids her farewell. From the shadows, Alfred watches with growing fury, seething at her devotion to his brother. His hatred for him intensifies, but his anger soon turns to satisfaction as he reminds himself that by the time she arrives in Belgrade, Mace will already be dead at the hands of the assassin he sent. Confident in his plan, he convinces himself that once she returns in despair, he will win her over and solidify his claim to both her and the kingdom. Before he can relish his victory, a bat suddenly swoops in, dropping a group of individuals before him. The surroundings shake violently, and his rage flares as he realizes that the assassins he sent have not completed their task. The bat delivers a report, handing him a letter from Miz. As he reads, his expression darkens. Mace warns him to stop involving innocent people, making it clear that if he continues his schemes, he will face consequences. The assassins kneel before him, trembling as they plead for mercy. They describe an overwhelming demon attack on their hideout and reveal that a woman transformed into Valitra, unleashing unimaginable power. He is momentarily stunned, questioning whether mimicry magic is involved. The scale of the demon presence leaves him unsettled, but his fury soon takes over. Without hesitation, he executes the failed assassins and turns to his magical communication device. His subordinates respond to his urgent summons, and he demands to know how long it will take to reach Belgrade. They estimate 2 days. Calculating his next move, he orders them to ensure the princess' journey takes at least 5. With his mind set on destruction, he decides to launch an attack on Belgrade, intending to burn it to the ground. When his subordinates express concern about targeting a city within the kingdom, he fabricates a report claiming Belgrade is in rebellion. He commands them to eliminate all residents, leaving no witnesses, and frame the attack on the demons. He instructs them to wear special armor to deceive the citizens, making them feel safe before slaughtering them. His subordinates obey without question, accepting his lies without hesitation. As the communication ends, he laughs, pleased with how easily they believed him. His thoughts shift to the Black Plague spreading through Belgrade. Addressing his gathered mercenaries, he declares that all his enemies, his brother, the mysterious woman who transformed into Valitra, and anyone who opposes him will soon be wiped out. Still curious about the true nature of the transformation, he decides to take extra precautions. He makes his way to a restricted area where dangerous beasts are held. The station soldiers are surprised by his presence, but he dismisses their concerns with a smirk, stating that the creatures deserve some exercise. Meanwhile, in Belgrade, Mace successfully saves another life with his medicine. The grateful citizens express relief as the symptoms of the Black Plague finally subside. Observing the city's condition, he grows serious, recognizing the disease's widespread impact. Teeny shares a lingering unease, and he agrees, deciding they should stockpile medicine in case of a resurgence. Holding the cure, he suggests they take it themselves as a precaution. She suddenly brightens upon noticing the city is now overrun with cats, far outnumbering the people. He, surprised, realizes that the growing feline population will soon eliminate the rat problem, effectively ending the plague spread. The sight brings unexpected relief. They turn to Mina, who stands among the cats, visibly delighted. Teeny expresses confidence in his abilities, calling him the true leader of the city. Her words make him uneasy, unsure if she truly means it. Sensing his doubt, she embraces him, assuring him of her belief in him. During the hug, her horn accidentally pricks his shoulder, causing her to pull back quickly. Their attention shifts to another pressing issue, the food shortage. Acknowledging that they have been surviving on their previous stockpile, they decide that reopening trade routes is crucial. He begins to suspect that the disruption was deliberate, which leaves him troubled. At that moment, a soldier arrives to report that the distribution of the cure is complete. Mace is grateful, but his focus soon shifts to a group of people the soldier has brought along. These individuals, eager to meet him, shower him with praise, calling him a miraculous alchemist and even a savior. Some go as far as proclaiming him the reincarnation of a legendary alchemist. Among them, a girl steps forward and declares him as her master, pledging unwavering loyalty. Before he can react, Teeny steps between them, glaring at him and pushing the crowd back. Intimidated, they retreat. He, irritated by her interference, tells her to stop acting so strangely. She reluctantly backs down, and he orders the Solider to ensure all Knight commanders take another dose of the cure, given their exposure to infected individuals. The Knights immediately comply. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the city. Panic erupts as flames spread rapidly, sending people screaming in terror. He immediately orders Mina to protect the civilians. As the fire engulfs Belgrade, he is horrified by the devastation. Teeny, her expression grim, recognizes the attack as magical in nature and identifies the enemy as human, not demonic. The soldiers confirm that the attackers are kingdom troops. Some speculate that they are burning the city to prevent the plague's spread. He, shocked, asserts that the plague has already been cured. Realization dawns on him this attack is not the kingdom's doing. It is his brother. His fury mounts, and her anger reaches its peak. As she begins transforming into her true form, she warns that she had already told them no one will lay a hand on her brother again. She stands in her temporary form, leaving the enemies dumbfounded. They struggle to believe that the mighty guardian Valatra stands before them, suspecting some elaborate trick. Mace, assessing the situation carefully, signals to her that he only intends to investigate. Understanding his plan, she agrees, emphasizing that their goal is only to prevent total devastation. The enemy remains unconvinced. Suspicious of magic, they refuse to accept what they see, and instead of pausing to rethink, charge forward, accusing the city's residents of treason. The city's soldiers, undeterred by the chaos, swear loyalty to him and prepare for battle. Soon, the battlefield erupts into a full-scale war, the sound of weapons clashing drowning out reason. Determined to eliminate what they perceive as a magical anomaly, the enemy turns its full force against her. Mace watches with concern, but before he can react, she breathes fire upon the attackers. To their horror, she remains completely unharmed. Then, without hesitation, she unleashes a bolt of lightning from her eyes, reducing several of them to smoldering remains. Mina, seizing the moment, charges forward, striking down enemies with fierce determination. After defeating one, she declares the city safe, though, considering the ongoing battle, it may be a tad premature. The enemy, however, is visibly shaken. Meanwhile, a Cyclops steps into the fight, standing as an immovable barrier between the attackers and the city's people. His near presence stuns the enemy, who belatedly realize that this isn't just any beast, but an A-rank monster. The battlefield continues to take a bizarre turn. On one side stands Valitra, on the other, the Shadow Demon King. The Cyclops, showing no patience for hesitation, crushes enemy soldiers underfoot, pledging unwavering loyalty to his master. One particularly bold enemy attempts a sneak attack, but finds himself intercepted by her. He barely has time to process this before his gaze shifts to Mez. A plan forms, perhaps if they can eliminate the enemy captain, they still stand a chance. She, sensing their intentions, steps forward, her expression cold. She regards them with a mix of pity and irritation before delivering a blunt reality check. The effect is immediate. The enemy falters, recognizing the inevitable. Panic spreads, and within moments they begin retreating. But Mace is not about to let them go unpunished. Without hesitation, he orders his troops to capture every last one. His forces, eager for victory, comply with impressive enthusiasm. Mounted on his unicorn, he swiftly pursues the retreating foes. The enemy, already in a state of disbelief, is further shaken. A mythical creature appears in the midst of war, making the situation feel even more unfair. He catches up with them swiftly, overpowering their desperate attempts to escape. Coldly, he informs them that attacking his city carries a price. With a calculated strike, he swings his paralyzing sword, bringing the battle to a decisive end. The city erupts in cheers, their victorious leader having crushed the enemy's commander. As celebrations break out, she, with no shortage of confidence, proclaims that aside from her and her brother, no one in this world could have won this battle. Just then, laughter rings out from above. The tone is mocking, unimpressed. Heads turn as a figure makes his presence known, directing a sarcastic remark toward him about his supposedly impressive team. Stepping forward, the figure reveals himself to be Alfred, reminding him that he remains the firstborn son of the Duke of Windsor. Mace, momentarily caught off guard, watches as he arrives, flanked by an army of strange and formidable creatures, fully prepared for battle.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.